Rado is a broke loser who has no hose and has nothing going on in his life. However, after a global pandemic wipes out 99% of men, he is now forced to repopulate the planet one backshot at a time. Everything starts when Rado confesses to his beautiful colleague, Arisa, that he's loved her for a long time. He also adds that he's been diagnosed with the deadly cellular sclerosis disease, and it will take 5 years to find a cure, which means he will be put in cold sleep until then. He then tells her he's going to ask her out once he wakes up, and she gets upset because it'll take 5 years. Later that afternoon, Rado arrives at the hospital, ready to be placed in cold sleep. Here, his not-so-good-looking sister, Mahiru, hugs him and tells him she'll miss him, while his brother assures him that everything will be fine. As he's about to enter the cold chamber, Arisa shows up, begging to see him one last time, so the nurse lets her in. While she tearfully tells Rado goodbye, he gives her his pendant and asks her to hold onto it until he returns. As Rado passes out, he worries that he will be left behind, but Arisa promises to wait for him, which puts him at ease. 5 years later, Ryo opens his eyes and sees a woman named Mira, who looks a lot like Arisa, only bouncier and hotter. Later, during a ride out of the hospital, she introduces herself as his dedicated assistant and explains that a new virus unalived lots of people. When she mentions that the world population has reduced by half in the last 4 years, Rado thinks Mira is bluffing and sprints out of the car to see things for himself. Soon, Rado is surrounded by women, and he runs off, wondering why he hasn't seen a single guy yet. That's when Mira catches up and tells him that the virus only targets men, and it wiped out almost all men on the planet. She explains that he's resistant to the virus, thanks to the cellular sclerosis disease treatment he received. She also mentions that there are only 5 men in the world who are immune to the virus, and since he's one of them, he's a valuable asset to humanity. While Rado processes this, a thirsty chick tries to jump on his sausage, but Mira's guard tases her, knocking her out. Mira then tells him that the only way to save humanity is for him to go full Johnny Sins and clap everyone. The following day, Rado learns about the United Women's Group, which is an international organization that is working towards developing a vaccine, but till now, the vaccine remains unfinished. However, they discovered a faint hope when they found a young man in cold sleep who was resistant to the virus. This person was called Number 1, and since there are other guys like him, they're scheduled to be awakened one by one to save humanity. Seeing this shocks Rado, and as he processes everything, Mira tells him to refrain from going out in public because it would cause chaos. She then leans in and begs him to make as many offspring as possible to save humanity. Rado suggests the artificial method since he isn't comfortable with smashing 5 billion chicks, but Mira tells him they've already tried that, and it didn't work. Currently, Number 1 has already gotten a woman pregnant, and the whole world is banking on the immunity of the offspring. Rado still thinks this is a big prank, so Mira brings in Mahiru, hoping she'll convince him. Rado feels a bit relieved upon seeing her, and he also finds out his brother is in cold sleep. Later on, he asks about Arisa, so Mahiru tells him she's been missing for 3 years. Rado fumes after hearing this and picks up his phone to call her, but no one answers. That evening, Mira reports to her superior from the United Women Group and gets scolded because she hasn't been able to get Rado to smash anyone yet. So that night, while Rado lies in bed thinking about Arisa, Mira walks in wearing a silky night robe, leaving Rado stunned. Without hesitation, she unveils her natural work of art, trying to clap Rado and drain him dry for the night. She crawls her way into kissing him, but when it's time for her to jump on his sausage, Rado briefly recalls Arisa and pushes her off. When Mira asks if she isn't his type, he tells her he can't be having a good time when the world is falling apart. Hearing this, Mira excuses herself and walks out, but when she gets outside, Number 1's assistant, Nene, mocks her for not being able to get freaky with Rado. Nene then suggests she get clapped by her master Hino, but Mira turns her down, insisting she only wants Rado. Later that night, Rado recalls the pendant he gave Arisa before entering cold sleep and realizes its location is still active. The following morning, Mira ups her game and gives Rado access to a pool of hot chicks, hoping it'll make his day long and hard, but the loser still refuses to pick anyone. When Mira tells him that even the men still in cold sleep are fated to die within a year, he finally realizes how grave the situation of the world is. So he begs Mira to give him a month to find Arisa, because she's the only person he wants to smash. Mira agrees, but only on the condition that he spend the night with a girl of his choosing, since they're already running out of time. The following morning, Hino is greeted with a heavenly massage from 2 OnlyFans models, and while he's enjoying it, Nene walks in and tells him it's time for him to smash. She shows him a list of girls ready to get inched, so he decides to settle for Rena, a hot movie star built like Megan Fox. When Rena enters his room, he feels her face and finds it hard to believe he's about to be in bed with a chick that hot. Without wasting time, Rina shows him her work of art, and he doesn't hesitate to sample it, wondering how she can be that good. After he's done with that, he decides to cut to the chase and paint her artwork already, so he claps her and makes sure to leave enough of his white paint. Later that morning, while eating breakfast, Rado falls in love with his meal, so Mira tells him it's thanks to the chefs her organization hired from around the world. Hearing this, Mahiru gets a little jealous because Rado is getting all the special treatment, while Rado notices that Mira eats a lot. When he remarks on her appetite, she says that nutrition is important, leaving him to wonder how she keeps her petite shape. But as he notices the size of her milkers, it hits him that that's where all the food she's eating is going, which makes Mahiru even more jealous and walk away since she's flat. A while later, Mira tells Rado she'll be assigning him a nurse and a bodyguard for his safety, and that they'll be sleeping with him every night. Rado is flustered after hearing this, so he thinks about it while walking to his room to freshen up. On the way, he meets Hino, who tells him they should get along since they're two of the few active guys in the world. Turns out he already knows about Rado's smashing issues, so he tries to talk him into getting some action. However, Rado still insists on staying celibate, so Hino walks away, telling him he's going to have a field day smashing all the models. In the shower, Rado thinks about what Hino said and admits that being with so many women sounds fun, but he still insists on finding Arisa so he can finally smash. Before he knows it, the lights go off, and as he struggles to get out of the bathroom, he finds himself touching something soft and squishy. Turns out, it's a girl's milkers, and though Rado is shocked, the girl brushes it off like it's no big deal and introduces herself as a Kane. She then pours a chocolate drink into her mouth and feeds it to Rado via a kiss, causing all the culture within him to rise. Seeing this, she circles back to calm him down with a sloppy toppy, but Rado lasts only 2 seconds before sprinkling everywhere and passing out on her. By the time he wakes up, he's shocked to find a chick named Sui in his bed, but he calms down when he realizes she might be his nurse. The following day, however, he walks around with bags under his eyes because he couldn't sleep with a Kane and Sui in the same bed. He's currently at Arisa's former workplace, looking for clues that might help him find her, but before he can get to her office, a bear breaks out of its cage and starts attacking everyone. As the bear charges at Sui, Rado reacts swiftly and saves her from getting torn apart, but Akane yells at her to do her job. Instantly, Sui's eyes go blank, and she lands a deadly strike on the bear, knocking it out on the spot. Seeing this shocks Rado, and he immediately realizes that Sui is his bodyguard, not Akane, as he had thought. While Mira yells at the staff for being careless with security, the mysterious chick behind the bear watches everything and hides herself. Later on, Rado enters Arisa's old office and learns that someone broke in and stole all her research documents. When he discovers that Arisa was researching the virus, he's shocked. But an old picture of them together makes him flash back to a time when Arisa's dog was sick. Back then, since there was no medication to cure the dog's illness, Arisa decided she would become a doctor and work on a cure. Seeing her determination, Rado decided he'd become a doctor too, so he could help with her research. Remembering all this in the present, Rado tells Mira it'll take a long time for him to repopulate the world with his seed and decides he'll come up with a cure for the virus instead, so all the men in cold sleep can wake up and spread their seed to repopulate the earth. A few days later, he goes on live television and announces his existence, along with his intention to develop a cure. As his broadcast reaches the entire continent, Arisa sees him and realizes he's alive. Later that afternoon, Mahiru scolds Rado for doing the broadcast because now the whole world's eyes are on him, which could put him in danger whenever he goes out. However, when Rado tells her he did it because he wants to save the world, she tells him to at least get some rest. After that, she tries opening Arisa's old stuffed teddy bear, but notices that Arisa's smart ring is still hidden inside. Seeing this, Rado takes it and hurries to the bathroom, where he finds a video message Arisa left for him. In the recording, Arisa says she discovered the virus was man-made and that she couldn't trust anyone with the details. Rado is stunned after hearing this, and a little emotional when he sees Arisa crying about how much she misses him. Getting outside, Rado acts like nothing happened and goes on a walk with Mira, casually commenting on how much she looks like Arisa. Along the way, Mira apologizes for putting his life in danger the other day, but Rado brushes it off as no big deal since Sui protected him. He then asks Mira if she's annoyed that she's stuck with a guy who refuses to have a good time with any girl. Deep down, he feels bad that he's making her job harder, but Mira just smiles and tells him he's a kind man. A while later, Rado sits in his room, wondering why someone would even create the virus. Meanwhile, the heads of the United Women organization hold a meeting to discuss Rado's recent actions. One of them says his growing popularity is enough to make the world believe Japan is the beacon of hope for all women, and the others agree. They also talk about Hino, who's already clapped around 100 baddies, with 28 of them currently expecting big bellies. They praise Hino's assistant for doing an excellent job, but criticize Mira for failing to get any results from Reito. As a result, they decide to awaken number 3 from his cold sleep so they can proceed with the next phase of their plans. About 5 years ago, a guy named Doi was consistently bullied in school by a guy named Takamatsu because he looked like Gojo's left walnut. One time, he was forced to goon to his favorite music star, but since he refused to do it, Takamatsu emptied his bladder on him. Sad, Doi left the bathroom heading for his classroom, and he silently cursed everyone who made fun of him. Along the way, Doi saw his only friend, but the guy acted as if he didn't know Doi and walked away like that. This made Doi flash back to the time he met the dude at first, and it appeared that they became friends because they were both fans of the same music artist. One time, Doi saw Takamatsu bullying his friend and decided to scare Takamatsu off to save the dude. But even after everything, his friend felt ashamed to talk to him, so he walked away without saying thank you. Seeing this broke Doi to the extent that Yuzu, his hot music teacher, noticed his dull mood while he played the piano. She asked what happened to him, so he opened up to her about how he got bullied because his hair was white. Since Yuzu was the only one who cared about him, she tried to cheer him up by hugging him from the back, but she noticed his temperature was high. Concerned, she told him to get a checkup at the hospital, so after he was done with school that day, he went to the hospital. To his shock, he found out he had contracted the cellular sclerosis virus and was told he'd have to be put in cold sleep for at least 5 years until he got the vaccine. The following day, when Yuzu told the class about Doi's condition, everyone acted nonchalant and went about their day, and Yuzu felt bad about it. After school that day, Doi took his usual route home, but stumbled upon Takamatsu smashing Erika, his girlfriend, in a corner. Unfortunately, Takamatsu saw him, so he attacked Doi and told him he was bound to die with his V-card intact. But as he walked away, Doi recovered, wondering why someone like Takamatsu gets to live and he doesn't. A few days later, Doi went to the hospital and was placed in a cold chamber where he fell asleep for about 5 years. Currently, he wakes up and is greeted by his hot assistant named Karen, who tells him he'll be reliving his high school years with lots of fun. She spends the whole afternoon briefing him about what he's missed and then shows him his dorm room so he'll be prepared for school the next day. While he processes it, he becomes a bit relieved when he learns that his father is still alive, but he has no idea if his sister and mother are safe or not. The following day at school, Karen introduces Doi as the new transfer student, and Bro reverts to factory settings, thinking he'll get bullied again. About 5 minutes in, he looks around and realizes he's safe because most of the people who bullied him are either missing or dead. But he's a bit flustered since everywhere he turns is packed with hot women. After class, Karen takes him to the music room, and he's shocked to find that Yuzu is still there. Excited, Yuzu hugs him, but Karen casually signals to her that she'll need to reward Doi for beating his illness. As she walks out, Yuzu asks Doi if he'll be free at night because she'd like to talk to him about something. A while later, Doi sits on the field, getting wild thoughts about meeting Yuzu in her room, but he brushes them off since clapping her seems unreal. Soon, Karen shows up and teases him because he hasn't joined the girls on the field, so he tells her he prefers to sit by himself. However, Karen ignores him and starts pointing out multiple chicks who might be his type. Though she presents them in all shapes and sizes, Doi doesn't pick any, so Karen promises to do everything she can to get him someone he likes. Later that evening, Doi heads to see Yuzu as promised, but when he enters her room, he's shocked to find her dressed in a light night robe. Seeing his reaction, Yuzu apologizes for dressing so lightly, but everything she says bounces off Doi's ears since his eyes are glued to her plot. Surprisingly, Yuzu asks how he feels about her, and as he summons the courage to admit that he likes her, Yuzu dims the lights and kisses him. After that, she jumps on him, slowly flashing her milkers, and tells him she'll do anything he wants for the night. Seeing this, Doi begs the gods of the universe not to wake him up if this is a dream, and when he realizes it isn't, he pins Yuzu down and shows her the 69 ways he's missed her. A few baby oil containers later, Doi passes out from exhaustion and Karen, who was listening to everything, smiles because she's achieved her mission. The next day in class, all Doi thinks about is how he smashed Yuzu, but he snaps back to reality when Natsu, the girl beside him, asks what he's thinking about. She guesses Doi is probably thinking about someone he likes, but Bro denies it, claiming he's thinking about his favorite song. Coincidentally, Natsu likes the song too, but before she can start a conversation with Doi, Hiragi, another chick, starts talking to him, so Natsu gets jealous and walks away. That afternoon, when Doi checks out the volleyball court, Rain, a girl from class, tries to impress him by going up against Akira, a chick who's good at the sport. As they face off, Akira slams a ball at Rain that knocks her over and hits Doi to the floor. Immediately, the other girls surround Doi to make sure he's okay, while Akira drops to her knees, begging and saying she's sorry. Though Doi tells her he got hit by accident, she insists on making it up to him with her megasonic milkers, leaving Doi speechless. Around sunset, Yuzu meets Doi and notices an injury on his head, so she gives him a forehead kiss to make it feel better. After that, she asks if he enjoyed last night, and Doi tells her it was the best day of his life, and he'd like to have many more nights like that. Hearing this flips a switch in Yuzu's head, and she doesn't even notice when she starts removing her coverings. Since Doi is now a man of culture, he doesn't hesitate to drink all her milk, and after he empties the glass, he eats her cake, and the rest is history. As time goes on, Doi grows obsessed with Yuzu and ends up clapping her every time they meet. One morning, Doi wakes up to a kiss from Yuzu, and when he realizes he doesn't have to attend school for the day, he tells her he wants to Netflix and chill. But Yuzu thinks otherwise and tells him she'd like more milk, so Doi agrees to give it to her until she's satisfied. The following day, Karen forces Doi to join the girls in the swimming pool, claiming it's just exercise. A while later, the girls start competing on who's the fastest swimmer, but when Akira sees Doi in the pool, she apologizes to him for hurting him the other day. Flustered by her shape and curves, Doi looks away and tells her he's cool with everything. But before he knows it, Rain pulls up on Akira and exposes her milkers. Seeing this shocks Doi, especially because he's never seen such beauty in a long time, but he snaps out of it when Akira angrily throws Rain into the pool. Later, Natsu shows up at Doi's dorm, and when he lets her in, he learns that she's going to be living with him for a while. Shocked, Doi calls Karen and demands some explanation, so Karen fumbles an excuse about some issues with Natsu's room. Hearing this, Doi immediately realizes that she's capping, because he knows the girls at the pool were competing on who gets to spend the night with him. Karen admits it and tells him that Natsu will be staying for a week, and after next week, a different chick will be up to warm his bed. Stunned, Doi tries to protest against it, but he calms down when Natsu tells him she always gets stuck in the fridge. The following morning, Doi jolts from his bed when he realizes Natsu is awake, and it turns out he couldn't sleep the whole night. He thinks about the idea of switching chicks every week and figures it's because he was going to see Yuzu almost every night. After he finishes preparing for school, he notices Natsu hasn't changed yet and tells her to hurry up so they won't be late. Hearing this, Natsu asks for his help to change because she isn't used to changing without maids or her roommate helping her. Shocked, Doi agrees to help her, and while he's at it, he keeps reminding himself to stay focused because Natsu's plot is a tempting sight. After barely managing to hold it down, he meets Karen at school and tells her everything. But when he's done, Karen tells him to help Natsu change in the bathroom. Shocked, he spits out all the water in his mouth onto Karen's face, so Karen heads off to clean up. Later that afternoon, Doi sits on a call with Yuzu and tells her about Natsu, but when the airhead asks to spend the night with Yuzu, she refuses. Hearing this makes him think she's avoiding him, but Yuzu claims she isn't, and Doi immediately catches on that it's because he's seen other girls. Surprisingly, she tells him to get along with the girls, but when Doi insists he prefers her, she tells him the other girls will be pissed at her if she gatekeeps him. After the call, Doi wonders if the girls really like him, and at night, he wonders if Natsu likes him too. As he struggles to sleep, Natsu jumps on him, claiming that she can't sleep unless someone's in bed with her. Although Doi is stunned by it, he allows her to join him in bed. At some point, she reveals that she was supposed to get married to a dude who was 2 decades older than her because her father willed it. But that dream died when the virus hit. Deep down, she likes that there was a global pandemic and tells Doi it's because she can now be with him. She also tells Doi she's loved him from the moment she first saw him, while Doi tells her he likes that the world turned out this way. He then follows up with a kiss, which leads to him taking off all of Natsu's protective coverings so he can eat her cake. But as all the culture within him goes out of control, he claps her in his sheets and gives her all the cursed energy built up in his body. The following day, the United Women Organization airs a reality show about Reito and his journey since he woke up from cold sleep. 94% of the women around the world watch it, and almost all of them wish he would take them to Pound Town, but Reito refuses. Soon, Mira tells him that Mahiru has been spending lots of time in the slums, and it might become a problem if the women realize she's Reito's sister. Hearing this, Reito decides that he'll talk some sense into Mahiru, but as he walks out of the room, Mira seems bothered about something. Elsewhere, Doi wakes up in bed, and after he feeds Natsu water with his mouth, she starts feeling sad because she'll be leaving his room in a few days. While Reito is heading to meet Mahiru, He sees Hino on the way and learns that he's going to become a father soon. Later that afternoon, Doi meets Yuzu in school and tells her he's sad because he hasn't been seeing her lately. Deep down, he feels bad about having a thing with Natsu. But as he's about to confess, Yuzu tells him not to worry about it since she understands that he belongs to all the girls in the school. Curious, Doi asks for some explanation, but she cries and runs away. So later that day, Doi meets Karen and tells her he's noticed strange things ever since he woke up from cold sleep. Earlier, he was told he was the only active man in the world, so now he asks if it's true. Though Karen doesn't exactly say there are numbered humans like Hino and Reito, she hints at it. Seeing her reaction, Doi asks if the school is a setup, because he believes the United Women group wants to get data from him that'll help fight the virus. He feels that all the girls in the school are being used to satisfy him against their will, and begs that they be left out of it. But Karen cuts in and tells him to follow her to class. Getting there, Karen reveals that the school was put together for him to clap as many girls as he can, so the United Women group can know if his seed will inherit his immunity. She then reveals that none of the girls are held against their will because they all like him and want to have his seed. Hearing this, Doi is shocked because it sounds unbelievable, so Karen tells all the girls in class to expose their plots to prove she ain't playing. And to his shock, the girls do as they're told. All the while, Reito grows frustrated because he hasn't gotten anywhere with creating a vaccine for the virus. As he recalls that Mira gave him only a month to produce results, he begins to think twice about sticking to their deal. Leaving the office, he bumps into some chick named Maria, and since her plots are half exposed, she runs away feeling embarrassed. Another lady named Ray watches everything from a corner and begins stalking Reito. She follows him and chases off some chicks who want his autograph, claiming he's a jerk who sees women as mere tools. As Reito wonders what's up with her, Mira calls him and asks to meet privately. Shortly after, Reito barges into a meeting with the United Women Japanese branch directors, questioning why Mira isn't his assistant anymore. Rather than answer, Mary, one of the directors, introduces Reito to Ray and Maria as his new assistants, explaining that Maria is a bioscientist assigned to help with his research, while Ray is assigned to help with his public dealings. Hearing this, Mira decides to leave, and it makes Reito question the directors about why she's being fired. One of them, Shudohu, tells him to clap Mira if he likes her so much, but Reito yells that he won't do it. After the meeting, Ray blames Reito for Mira losing her job, believing it's because Reito refused to smash anyone. She then decides to restrict Reito's movement outside until he considers smashing someone, but the airhead thinks she's being too hard on him. Shortly after, Ray meets Mira and tries to catch up since they're old friends, but Mira only insists that she take care of Reito on her behalf. Hearing this pisses Ray off because she still believes that Reito sees women as tools, but Mira tells her Reito is a good person and walks out on her. Later, while on a train, Reito grows curious about where he's headed, so Maria tells him they're en route to Cayman City to meet someone important in the virus research. Hearing this shocks Reito, and his reaction makes Maria spill juice on her body, so she excuses herself to clean up. While she's at it, Reito apologizes for startling her, but she also apologizes, saying she's not used to men. But she becomes more talkative when Reito asks what she knows about the virus. Recalling Irisa's message about the said virus, he asks Maria if she thinks the virus is man-made, and she begins to consider it, mentioning that Cayman City is the place where the first victim of the virus appeared. A while later, Reito arrives at Cayman City, and since he's exhausted from the trip, he takes a dip at the hot springs. However, he's shocked when the other girls show up to join him, because he isn't sure he has enough of that stuff to go around. As a result, he decides to leave, but Akane holds him back, begging him to help scrub all the girls' backs, and he's forced to agree. First, he starts with Sui, and everything goes well since she's the ambassador for flatboards.
Emotional, damn it!
But when it's Akane's turn, the freaky woman makes him give her a massage, and it makes him turn red. While barely managing to hold it down, Reito proceeds with the massage, but the moment he mistakenly slips some fingerlings into her cake, he bolts without looking back. The following day, Reito joins the girls at a hospital to meet a woman named Taniguchi, whose husband was the first to contract the virus. When the old woman sees them, she figures they're there to ask about her late husband, but she refuses to share any info since her husband's corpse was experimented on after he died. Seeing her reaction, Reito asks her what he needs to do to get her to speak. However, she claims she's joking and tells everyone to leave. Shockingly, she hops on a call with Arisa at night and tells her that Reito stopped by. The following day, Reito shows up again, begging her to tell him what her husband was up to before he died, but she refuses to tell him anything. Rather, she advises him to become King Nesser and clap all the girls, but Rei interrupts, telling her he hasn't been with any woman since he woke up from cold sleep. Hearing this, Taniguchi demands a private conversation with Reito, where she asks why he's passing up a golden opportunity other men would die for. She starts wondering if he bends dudes, but Reito denies it, insisting that he only wants to clap the girl he's in love with, and he'll spend his time finding a cure until then. Hearing this makes the old lady smile, but she ends her conversation with Reito and calls it a day. Later that evening, Reito visits a public hot spring with Sui, but when Sui tells him a bunch of chicks are coming, he runs to hide in a sauna. Unfortunately, a chick named Chloe walks in and threatens to scream if he tries to leave. She then proposes a deal where if Reito fails to withstand the sauna's heat, he'll have to do anything she wants. Reito agrees and somehow manages to avoid clapping her, even though she's built like Sydney Sweeney. But when she passes out from the heat, he takes her inside to make sure she's okay. When she regains consciousness, Reito tries to feed her some water, but she insists that he use his mouth instead or else she'll scream. With no choice, Reito proceeds to do it, but before he can start tasting her cake, Akane walks in with Sui and Rei, and they all think he wants to smash. Pissed, they walk out on him, but before he knows it, Chloe exposes her plots and tells him to have some milk. The following day, Taniguchi speaks privately with Mira, asking if she knows about Arisa. As Mira says Arisa is Reito's old friend, she flashes back to a time when she spoke to Arisa, but snaps back to reality when Taniguchi asks what Reito is like. Mira says Reito is selfish because he's refusing to mate, but deep down, she finds it impressive that he's keeping his desires in check to find a cure for humanity. Later, when Reito shows up, Taniguchi asks if he's ever going to have offspring, so he says he will if he has no choice. Taniguchi then asks if he'll give up on Arisa to do it, but he tells her that clapping other chicks wouldn't make him feel different about Arisa because he's in love with her. Hearing this, Taniguchi smiles and promises to tell him about her husband, and it gets him excited. At night, Taniguchi calls Arisa and tells her to meet Reito fast, so she doesn't lose him to a bunch of hot chicks. But Arisa argues that she'll love Reito no matter what. After the call, Taniguchi lies to sleep, but that's when a suspicious person enters her ward and injects her with a deadly chemicale. The following morning, Reito is shocked when he meets Taniguchi in critical condition, but he receives a portrait from a nurse who tells him Taniguchi wanted him to have it. Akane watches everything unfold and begins to suspect foul play. Later that morning, Reito, Sui, and Maria arrive at the hospital where Taniguchi's husband was taken after he got infected. Getting inside, Reito notices that the place is completely abandoned, but he finds no clues that can help with his research. In the meantime, Hina was having a blast as he gets fed by a hot chick named Rika. Jealous, his other smashing partners try to steal his attention, so they take turns feeding him milk. While it goes down, Hino enjoys how he's being served, but since he's had the 3 chicks repeatedly, he begins to crave something new. Back at Cayman City, Akane meets Rei in the hot springs and tries to get a conversation out of her, but since Rei doesn't like her, she insists on leaving. However, Akane brings up Taniguchi's condition, explaining that she went through her medical reports and figured out that she was poisoned. Hearing this, Rei tries to leave, but Akane holds her back and asks what she was up to last night. Rei claims she submitted a report about Reito to the directors and adds that he was alone when she did it. She then teases Akane about being concerned about a certain director, Kiera, leaving Akane completely shocked. The following day, Reito inspects the portrait Taniguchi gave him and notices that it reacts to Arisa's smart ring. As his ride passes by a school, Maria points to it, revealing that her younger sister attends it. Meanwhile, it's the same school Doi attends, and it turns out that Karen is moving Yuzu somewhere else. Elsewhere, Hino heads out with Nene into the slums, looking for a new chick that'll satisfy him. Soon, Hino sees Mahiru and gets attracted to her, but Nene feels skeptical about picking her since she's Reito's sister. Later, Reito hides in the bathroom and uses Taniguchi's portrait to access a document that shows how to make the virus. Shocked, he wonders why Taniguchi had it, but he begins to realize the old woman didn't talk because she didn't trust anyone, and it makes him skeptical about whom to trust on this team. That evening, some chick forcefully tries to play scissors with another girl named Rini, but Rei shows up and tases her. Rini kisses Rei because she's missed her, and when Rei asks her for a favor, saying there's something she wants her to do, she agrees to it. The following day, Reito becomes disappointed because the document he saw yesterday contains some damaged files, and there's no way he can recreate them. He wishes he had someone else helping him and decides to ask Maria why the virus research is going so slowly. Maria says it's because the directors aren't letting her, and their excuse is that they need to focus their energy on food production. She also adds that all the major researchers are at the United Women World Headquarters in America, and wishes that some of them could come back. Soon Nene shows up and talks to Reito about Hino's interest in Mahiru, and it only takes a moment before Mahiru hears it. As she does, she crashes out, insisting that Hino isn't her type, so Reito tells Nene he'll pass. Hearing this, Nene begs Reito to tell Hino himself, so when he does, Hino ends up convincing him to schedule a meeting with Mahiru. Minutes later, Nene reports to Kihara that Mahiru has refused to mate with Hino, but since Kihara is in a meeting with the other directors, she tells Nene to handle the situation with Mahiru. After that, Kihara learns about a riot that happened recently in the city and begins to brainstorm ways to solve the issue. Rei, watching, suggests that they use Reito to distribute food in town so the people will calm down. The directors immediately agree with this, so Kihara makes it final, insisting that they tighten security around Reito. All the while, Reito is in the bathroom with Maria and Akane, trying to get out without becoming a father. Soon Akane cuts to the chase and asks if he has some information on the virus. Seeing his shocked reaction, she tells him to be careful since researching the virus can put his life at risk. Curious, Reito asks who might come for him, but Akane ignores him and tells him that talented researchers have been going missing recently, and she doesn't know if they are alive. As she reveals that Director Kihara is her mother, she overhears someone approaching the bathroom, so she suffocates Reito with her milkers so they don't look suspicious. As the door opens and Akane sees that it's Rei, she puts up an act, trying to make it look as if Reito was clapping her, so Rei gets pissed and leaves. Rei then stops to see Mira, but as she confesses her feelings to Mira, she gets rejected, so she decides she'll make Mira forget about Reito soon. As time goes on, Reito joins Akane, Sui, and Rei in an underground research lab, and it turns out Akane has been doing her research here for a while. She boasts that the research lab is undetectable and tells Reito not to trust the directors or Rei because they're only interested in controlling the country. Moments later, Reito heads out to distribute food, and lots of girls get excited when they see him. However, a few aren't happy to see him because they know the United Women's Group is using him to control the country. In the meantime, Rei notices suspicious activity on a rooftop, and it appears that a sniper is aiming to unalive Reito. As she's about to pull the trigger, Rini shows up and shoots her and apologizes to Rei since she couldn't capture the sniper alive. She then tells Rei not to worry about anything because she has people watching the area for anything suspicious. Curious, Rini wonders why Rei is worried about Reito and assumes she has fallen in love with him, but Rei tells her she's only protecting Reito because Mira would be sad if he dies. The following day, while Hino is out on a date with Mahiru, Rika gives him the look, and he immediately catches on that she's jealous. Though he tries his best to come off as an interesting guy, Mahiru walks out on him, and it saddens him that he got rejected. So the following day, he ties and claps his girlfriends one by one to feel better. But it doesn't work. Seeing his mood, Rina asks if he's into Mahiru, and he lies that he isn't. Back at the underground lab, Rei finds that all her friends who are supposed to be researching in America have been reported hospitalized in the same hospital. Hearing this shocks Reito, and he begins to realize that the hospital might be where the virus was first developed. Later that night, while Doi lies in bed thinking about why all the girls in school are for him, Natsu wakes up and holds him, trying to initiate another quick one because her time as his roommate is almost up. As she starts kissing him, he pulls back and tells her he isn't in the mood, so she apologizes to him. After that, he heads out to get some air, but Karen sees him and jokingly tells him he isn't allowed outside school grounds for security reasons. The following day, Karen tells all the girls in school to pick from a box, explaining that a lucky girl will get to spend the next week with Doi. Feeling confident, Rain goes first and flops, followed by Hiragi, who also flops. Doi, watching, wonders how he went from being bullied to becoming a Jiga Chad that girls are fighting over who gets to call him daddy at night. When a girl named Yanagi wins the contest, Doi is shocked because he doesn't like her since she's the sassy type. While he eases himself in the bathroom, Yanagi enters and tries to get a quick one from him, but as he's backed against the wall, he flashes back to the times he got bullied and decides to run away from her. Afterward, he stops by a teacher's office, which is usually his cool-down spot whenever he gets bullied. While checking the place out, Hiragi enters, wondering what he's doing there, but she soon realizes that the office is his spot. Before now, she saw bruises on Doi's body and realized he was bullied, so she exposes her plots to show she was also bullied. Hearing this stuns Doi, but he becomes comfortable with her since they used to share the same struggle a few years ago. Curious, she asks to see his bruises, and when he does, she kisses him and allows him to fondle her plots. Midway through, Doi kisses her bruises to make her feel better, and it leads to him eating her cake, which quickly escalates into a wonderful clapping session. About 2 rounds in, Doi decides to finish things with Hiragi in his dorm room, but when he gets there, he's shocked to find Yanagi waiting for him. Seeing Doi with Hiragi, Yanagi gets pissed and reminds Doi that she won the contest and isn't in the mood to share his sausage with Hiragi. However, Hiragi argues that it's Doi's place to decide who he wants, but her reaction gives it away that Doi has smashed her already. As Yanagi figures this out, she exposes her plots, asking Doi to have a go with her, but it leads to an argument with Hiragi over who gets to gatekeep Doi. Seeing this shocks Doi, so he flees his room in disbelief because he never thought 2 hot chicks would fight over him. Outside, he tries calling Yuzu, but when she doesn't pick up, he wonders if she's avoiding him because he's smashing other girls. Soon, Akira shows up and sits with him, asking if it's fun to have Yanagi as his roommate, so Doi tells her he doesn't vibe with Yanagi at all. After that, he mistakenly catches a view of Akira's steaming plots because she just finished a run a few minutes ago, but he looks away when Akira turns to him. When she asks about his head injury, he lies that it still hurts, so she apologizes again, offering to do anything he wants to make up for it. As a cultured man, Doi tells her to show him her milkers, and she doesn't hesitate to do it, leaving Doi shocked. As he fondles them and realizes they're soft and bouncy, he begins to feel bad about what he's doing, so he leaves Akira on the edge and runs away. The following day, he decides to meet Akira and apologize for what he did last night, but Akira tells him to make it up to her by helping her clean. As he agrees to it, he's shocked when she locks the door and jumps on top of him, begging him to smash her because she's been having wet dreams of him since last night. Meanwhile, Natsu overhears everything from behind the door and feels sad about losing Doi after the couple is done smashing. Akira apologizes to Doi for taking advantage of him, and he tells her he doesn't mind. Later that evening, he refuses to spend the night with Yanagi, so he sends her packing and enjoys a night's sleep alone. So the following day, Karen decides to assign him a girl a day that will satisfy him until he graduates. She picks Yanagi as the first candidate and reveals that she'll have to give Doi a morning kiss. Hearing this shocks Doi because he doesn't like getting freaky in public, so Karen makes all the girls face the other way to make sure he kisses Yanagi. As Doi kisses her, he realizes that something is growing thick and hard and opts to run away, but he slips and bruises himself. Seeing this, Karen forces him to see the nurse, who takes her time examining his body. When she's done, Doi realizes that the bed is too big for him, but that's when Karen shows up with Natsu, Hiragi, and Akira, because she knows Doi is starving. As she leaves, Natsu wonders how she'll make Doi feel better, so Hiragi shows her the way by kissing his bruises. Since the feeling is euphoric, he begins making loud, happy sounds, but the girls tell him to tone it down because they haven't started anything yet. After that, they take turns drinking Doi's milk, which then leads to a 4-way clapping session. Karen watches everything from a screen and talks to another girl named Hoshina. The following day, Rain works on a chemikeel to make Doi fall for her, but she hides when Doi walks in. She begins hinting at spending the week with Doi, so Doi gets curious and asks what she likes about him. After Rain tells him she likes him because he's caring, he appreciates her for it, but refuses to smash her because she's dead flat. Hearing this, she tells him her personality is thick, but since Doi ain't buying it, she runs away, promising to become bouncy the next time they meet. Later that evening, Karen meets Doi with a message about Yuzu, lying that the teacher has transferred schools for family reasons. Hearing this pisses Doi off, and it gets worse when Karen tells him he won't see Yuzu until after a year. He yells at Karen to bring Yuzu back, reminding her that she's supposed to give him anyone he likes, but Karen tells him he can't. She then tries to make him happy by offering multiple chicks for the night, but Doi refuses and insists on sleeping alone. So the following day, another random chick is selected to be his girl for the day, and he doesn't hesitate to kiss her in front of everyone. At night, he smashes the same chick, but the next day, he's shocked when Karen introduces Hoshina as a new transfer student because she used to be his classmate. In the past, since Hoshina was the hottest chick in school, every dude in her class wanted to become the chair she sat on, and it irritated Doi. One time, while he was being bullied by Takamatsu, Hoshina showed up and was comfortable eating lunch while watching Doi get turned into a punching bag. Currently, Doi recalls this in school, but that's when Hoshina shows up and starts asking for his help. At first, Doi asks her if she's been briefed about the school, and when she says yes, he jokingly tells her to strip. Seeing her reaction, Doi walks away, telling her there's no way he'd help her after what she pulled in the past. So that afternoon, Hoshina meets Natsu and Hiragi, asking to know what Doi likes. But Natsu gives her the middle finger and tells her she doesn't see her as a classmate because she's too old for the school. The next person Hoshina meets is Akira, and she gives her the same treatment as well, and walks out on her. In class, Doi wonders why Hoshina is back in school, so Karen tells him it's because she wants to be an entertainer. She explains that since men are scarce, it's quite hard for Hoshina to be an entertainer, but it'll get easier for her if Doi smashes her and adds her to his collection, because by then the United Women group would want to work with her. After hearing this, Doi says he doesn't feel up to smashing Hoshina if she doesn't want him, so Karen tells him to give Hoshina a chance. So the next day, Hoshina shows up in class without a skirt, and it turns out Karen told her to do it to gain Doi's attention. The following day, she shows up again without a skirt and a shirt, so Doi pities her and kisses her. After the kiss, he tells her to meet him at the rooftop after classes, and she obeys accordingly. But when she gets there, she realizes Doi wants to smash her in front of 3 other chicks. Shy, she begs to get clapped in his room instead, but when he reminds her that her career is at stake, she allows him to do his thing. About 2 seconds in, Doi realizes her V-card is intact, and though it shocks him, he promises to be gentle. After clapping her, Doi opens up to Karen about how the school feels amazing, so Karen tells him he can get crazier if he wants. When she teases that he's too much of a gentleman, he asks if he can smash her instead, and she says yes. However, he gives her a hard pass and asks her to bring a certain chick to the school, and she agrees. The following day, Doi gets the best time of his life, measuring all the girls in the school, and the nurse smiles at him because it's an opportunity for him to get wild. She then bends over to lay the bed for him to rest, and as Doi watches her, he gulps saliva because he knows he isn't passing on that. A few days later, Karen informs Doi that his package has arrived, and it turns out it's Erika, Takamatsu's girlfriend. When Erika sees him, she becomes shocked and tries yelling at him, but Karen gives her the look and she shuts it. As Karen leaves, Doi looks at Erika one more time and flashes back to the time when Takamatsu emptied his bladder on him, so he decides to pour Erika a bucket of water. Doing this pisses Erika off, and as she tries crashing out, Doi grabs her by the neck and tells her she's cooked. Seeing that he's serious, she threatens to cut her tongue and die, but Doi tells her he has no interest in clapping her. Instead, he drags her and tells her to slurp all the bruises her boyfriend inflicted on him. Left with no choice, Erika licks them, and Doi lets out a diabolical laugh of satisfaction. In the meantime, Karen hops on a call with Director Mary and tells her about Doi's smashing spree. She then asks about Yuzu, who is pregnant, and Mary tells her Yuzu is doing well. She then asks Karen to keep sending her girls who get pregnant, but Karen insists on having a research lab closer to the school. Hearing this, Mary tells her it's harder to build labs because the United Women headquarters might find out. She mentions that her superiors have sent someone to inspect their affairs in Japan, and she believes they are aware that other active men exist aside from Rado. After hearing this, Karen hints that there might be a snitch and points fingers at Director Hope since she used to work at the United Women headquarters. The following day, Doi makes out with a random chick in class, and it makes the other girls jealous. Earlier, Karen noticed the girls weren't as thirsty as they used to be, so she told them they would be rewarded with eternal privileges if any of them managed to become Doi's first or second wife. As they heard this, all the girls wanted to win Doi over, but currently, they're pissed that a random chick has his attention. Later that afternoon, Doi refuses to join the girls for a swim since he's a little tired, so Hiragi, Rain, and Yanagi compete over who gets to make him feel better. As they begin their race, Natsu pulls Doi to the side and starts cutting the lower area of his swimsuit. Shocked, he wonders what's going on, so Natsu tells him to enter Akira's tight swimsuit so the other girls won't see him. Minutes later, Yanagi and the others complete their race, but as they realize they can't see Doi, they leave the pool area, thinking he's gone to class. Afterward, Doi emerges from the water, and he gets stuck with Akira and Natsu, who want him to punish them for what they've done. Seeing their plots, Doi yields to his worldly desires and claps both of them underwater, but even after he's done, Natsu begs for more, so he whips her and smashes her till she gives out. After that day, more girls in the school start thirsting after him, so he goes on a clapping spree to fulfill his wildest fantasies. One day he invites an unfortunate chick to his dorm, who gets shocked when she sees Erika chained like a dog. Doi tells the girl not to worry and then proceeds to ask Erika if Takamatsu died from the virus, but when she claims she doesn't know, Doi tells her he doesn't care if Takamatsu is dead or alive, and it pisses her off. She then crashes out, asking why he's still pissed over something that happened 5 years ago, so Doi shuts her up and tells her that the bullying still feels like yesterday. He then throws the other girl on his bed and claps her while Erika is watching. Later that night, Doi wakes up and realizes that Erika is having a hard time sleeping, so when he looks at her, he realizes she needs drugs because she's an addict. He then decides to give her some medication, but he sticks it on his tongue and tells her to fetch. as she crawls towards him in desperation. Doi grabs her and kisses the drug into her mouth and lets her go. The following day, Reito heads out on a train with Rei, Akane, and Sui, en route to the hospital where the virus started. Meanwhile, Chloe reveals her investigation to Pope, telling her that the Japanese United Women Branch is gatekeeping other men from the world. The Japanese United Women Branch holds a meeting, discussing a new official named Mansfield from the Peacekeeping Activities Bureau. Knowing how capable the Bureau is, the directors wonder if Mansfield is coming to Japan to search for Izanami, a terrorist organization, but they dismiss it, believing it must be for something deeper. They learn that Mansfield isn't just a typical military officer, but one who got promoted very fast due to her glazing skills, and they should try their best not to have a confrontation with her. They then ask Hope to follow through with their plan, since they have the initiative with the high numbers in their possession. One morning, Doi picks Hikaru, the next girl who will calm his saber, and kisses her, but she turns him down, saying it was that time of the month. He backs away, but Karen looks at Hikaru suspiciously. At night, Mary calls Karen and notifies her that the World Heat Messenger will be coming the next day. Mary ends the call after learning things are going smoothly. Meanwhile, Hikaru plays with her kitty outside and gets a call from Marisa, who apologizes to her for going to great lengths to infiltrate the school as an undercover. She then tells Hikaru that they will proceed with their plans as soon as the World Heat Messenger arrives. During that time, Doi gets rid of Natsu's seals in the girls' dorm bath, and she notes his improvement compared to his first time when he shook like a leaf. She takes him in, and he sees Hiraji and Tudu waiting for him, both ready for some extracurricular activities. There, the trio washes his body and ensures his unsheathed longsword is well taken care of. Hiraji, who did not participate in his pool fantasy, shows up and asks him to make it up to her so she can tame his tiger while the others happily wait for their turns. After bagging the girls, they have a soak in the hot bath, and Doi notes he's living the life you all want. Suddenly, Yanagi joins them, but Hiraji tries to gatekeep her master from her, saying she belongs to another faction. Yanagi hurriedly denies it and tells them how they called her Ginger during the swimming race. Upon realizing they've been had, Doi adds her to his list and gives her his beefy sausage. Her lower lip happily savors the taste, and she hugs him till she nearly gives out. The next day, Doi acts out his fantasies, and he realizes that his restraints towards women have snapped. Meanwhile, Reito and his team visit Keiman City Hospital, the case they suspect the virus comes from. Akane asks Reito how he feels about Mira, and he stutters way worse than you guys trying to riz baddies. Judging by his reaction, she concludes he's a virgin and teases him for hiding behind the mask of being a Chad when he doesn't know how it's done. They check out the abandoned hospital and see a large vent, big enough for them to crawl in. Meanwhile, Pope arrives in Japan, and Kihara, as well as other directors, welcome her, thinking she's Mansfield. She corrects them and tells them she's simply Mansfield's aide. During that time, Reito and his goons crawl through the vent. He has a very premium view of Maria's plot armor, and as a result, they lose their footing and fall into a lit room. There they come across Hope, and Maria asks if the other researchers are locked up here. Hope happily tells them they won't get out alive and waits for her officers to shoot them down. But to Reito's squad's surprise, soldiers show up and end Hope and her assistants. Chloe then reveals herself and tells them her full name, Chloe Mansfield, the head of the Peacekeeping Bureau. As she waffles on about her infiltration and investigation, they hear a loud explosion, so she informs them that the building has been rigged with bombs and they need to evacuate. They hurry out of the building and escape in her chopper. Right after they leave, they watch the hospital go off and note they were so close to discovering the source of the virus. The next day, Doi skips the whole turn-by-turn process with the girls and decides to take 4 of them on at once. He calls it his paradise and vows to enjoy every last second of it. Karen sees him going all out and marvels at the sight. Later that night, she interrogates Hoshino, who had been caught trying to escape the school grounds, and promises to let her go back after Doi maxes out all of his desires. As they argue, they hear an explosion. Meanwhile, Chloe talks to Reito, telling him her findings so far since he revealed himself to the public, and concludes how United Women's Japan branch is shady. At that same time, Pope has a meeting with the directors, and they try to sell out Director Hope, whom Chloe has taken out. She reveals she's aware of Kihara's orders, and then asks her about Chloe's findings on the others who possess resistance to the virus. The boards are surprised that she knows so much, so Kihara orders her unit to place Pope under arrest. All of a sudden, the officers point their guns at the directors and reveal that they work for the headquarters in America. As if that isn't enough, Shudohu opens up, and the other directors realize that she's the mole feeding the headquarters with info. Pope then arrests them for a lot of charges. On the helicopter, Chloe tells them how the United Women's Japan branch has been the one sabotaging his research. She also informs him of the worldwide terrorism that happened right after Kihara revealed himself to the world. She shows him Arisa's photo and tells him she has sided with the United Women's opposing group. Suddenly, they hear another explosion and see it coming from a school. Chloe then tells them that she just got a report of another boy like Rado in that school, and he has been kidnapped by terrorists. Later that night, Doi dreams about Yuzu savoring his loli, but he wakes up and realizes he's in a hospital. Karen gets excited when she sees that he's woken up, and after the nurses leave, she apologizes for his condition and explains that terrorists attacked the school and tried to take him. Suddenly, his girls show up looking all worried and pounce on him after seeing he's okay. Minutes later, Karen takes him outside and shows him that the fence is well protected, so the terrorists shouldn't be able to come for him. Although it was the same with the school, she says the reason the terrorists were able to invade was that they had a spy on the inside. She then asks him why he saved Erika since she thought he hated her. Doi tells her he moved on reflex, and she calls him a nice person before telling him to be careful since he's very important. He agrees, calling himself the last man on Earth, but she opens up to him that there are 4 others. 2 out of 5 of them haven't woken up, and they all suffered from the cellular sclerosis virus. Upon learning that there are other males, his past trauma nearly kicks in, especially because he thinks Takamatsu might still be alive. When Karen notices his mood, she tells him the other men are in his way and reveals that she plans to move him from Cayman to Tokyo, but there's a United Women messenger around. As she rambles on energetically, Doi asks her what her goal is, and she tells him she wants to be powerful and important. He then asks her if she means she wants to become the head of Japan United Women, but Karen corrects him and tells him she wants to be the #1 in the world. Rather than telling her she is delusional, he calls it a big dream, and she tells him she wants to make him the #1 male in the world. Curious, he asks her why they aren't hitting it off yet, and she tells him she just wants to be his assistant. However, she mentions that if he wants to give her his seed, she'll gladly accept, but her status won't change from being his assistant. He agrees with her logic, and they shake hands. Meanwhile, what they don't know is that Hikaru is watching them. After they're done talking, Hikaru contacts Arisa and apologizes for failing to capture Doi. She tells Arisa she'll also be leaving Keimen and learns that Arisa and the other terrorist members have successfully gotten the 4th male, who is still in cold sleep. At the headquarters, Shudohu tells Rado's group that Hino will be joining him at the headquarters due to the current circumstances. Moments later, Chloe briefs them about how the terrorist used her arrival as a distraction to simultaneously attack several places and steal the 4th male survivor. She believes the terrorists were reacting to the Japanese branch's tyranny. Rado finds it hard to believe Arisa is among the terrorists, and he wonders what she's up to. Chloe praises him for not bending his will to the Japanese branch and promises to keep him safe in the headquarters. Later that night, she reports to the higher-ups, telling them about the state of the remaining 4 males at their disposal. She says Hino has stopped his manly duties and wonders if he has fallen in love. Her boss then tells her to take good care of them. After the call, Chloe laughs excitedly and says Utopia is almost here. Meanwhile, Rado broods on Arisa's actions. He checks his phone, and with the help of his pendant, he sees that she's currently in Niigata in Japan, but that's all he can get out of his phone. Suddenly, Akane shows up and tells him she has something important to say. He quickly takes her to the bathroom and switches on the showers, but she tells him she doesn't mind. Chloe, on the other hand, goes to Hino's room to greet him and sees Rina in there with him and Nene. After she assures him that the other girls are alright, she tells him Nene isn't allowed. He disagrees with her and tells her that not every man will do what she wants him to do. Akane, on the other hand, tells Rado that her mom may be corrupt, but she was sure she wasn't the one responsible for the creation of the virus. Akane tells him about her brother, who died 5 years ago to the virus, and she remembers how Kiara didn't show up for the funeral because she was doing everything she could to help the country face the pandemic. Rado calmly listens to her and tells her he'll speak with Chloe to arrange a meeting with Kiara. After they leave the shower, Maria storms into their room and informs them of Arisa's live broadcast. Arisa reveals her sect name is called Izanami, and they aren't terrorists. She shows the world the 4th male, whom they've awakened, and tells them the United Women are evil. She shows them photos of satellite remains in a factory and tells them it contained a high concentration of virus, which means the current leadership of United Women is the one who spread the virus around the world. She mentions how United Women's goal is to create a world of only females, which is why they have invested huge resources in America into creating a way to give birth using only female genes. Mira recalls Arisa saying something to her when she was in a lab, Currently, Erisa demands that United Women hand over the men in their possession so that women can mass-produce heirs. She tries saying more things, but runs out of time, and the hijacked network is restored. Reito immediately storms into Chloe's office, demanding an explanation, and she logically asks him why he's still alive if the United Women's goal is to end all men. He then storms out of her office after she flashes him her milkers. After he leaves, she reports to the higher-ups and assures them that everything is under control. Reito meets with his girls and Akane, who once tried speaking to her mother but didn't get any information out of her. She then suggests they leave the headquarters. They go inside his room to continue their discussion, but see two unfamiliar people, and one of them is a guy who introduces himself as Doi. Before they went to Reito's room, Karen used the United Women's fancy tech to age Doi into a proper adult, and she assured him that he would maintain his new look for 30 years. After the operation, he looked more like a Giga Chad and didn't need to wear his dork glasses anymore because his myopia dipped. She dressed his hair, and he looked like a fine product of look maxing. Currently, he gives Reito the greatest dab in all of anime. While Reito is quite stunned, he's meeting another numbered dude in person. Seeing them together, Maria is shocked because it's against the rules to enter a numbered person's room without permission, but Karen quickly cooks up an excuse, and they let it slide. She then asks Reito about his take on Chloe and the terrorist. She and Doi watch Reito bounce back and forth, not knowing which side is right and wrong. Upon learning that they were survivors of the incident, Maria rushes to check if her sister, Rain, is safe. So when she sees Rain, she hugs her, while Hiragi and the other girls are surprised that they are sisters. Maria thanks Hiragi and the other girls for taking care of her sister, but Rain claims she's the one who takes care of them. Hearing this, Maria can already tell she's bluffing, so she drags her cheeks and tells her to be nice. After that, Rain recalls that Maria is now Reito's assistant, so she curiously asks if she's been clapped yet, but the question shocks Rain, and she ends up bursting all her drink on the girls. Later, in Doi's room, he asks Karen about her opinion on Reito, so she mentions she heard Reito is a softie. Hearing this, Doi tells her he feels Reito seems intelligent, unlike Hino, who only cares about creaming a lot of kitties. Though he wears a nonchalant look that'll have girls on Omegle screaming for his contact, he wishes he could snack on Yuzu, but Karen tells him Yuzu was sent somewhere safe after the terrorist attack. She also tells him she hasn't updated her superiors on Yuzu's location yet, and reminds him to look forward to the meeting with Chloe the following day. In the meantime, Reito summons Mira, and when she shows up, he begs her to join him in the bathroom. There, he turns on the shower so no one will hear his conversation with Mira, and asks her to elope with him, but she tells him that if he can give her his seeds, then she'll agree. He painfully turns her down, and she breaks into tears before experiencing an identity crisis. Mira tells him she wishes she could come with him, but it's not possible. He relates to her, and they lean in to share a kiss, but Pope barges into the bathroom with some officers and takes them away. On their way, she tells them all the members of his factions have been captured because they've fallen for his riz so badly that they aren't doing their jobs. She plans to take him to America, where Izanami won't be able to easily reach him. Reito realizes it's bad news, and he won't get to see Erika if he goes. To his surprise, his girls show up and take down the officers. Unfortunately, Pope uses Mira as a hostage, but an assistant who hasn't had screen time in a while shows up and takes her out. Reito and his team scurry off while Chloe's officers chase after him. During that time, Chloe discusses with Doi and Karen asks her for two requests. One is to meet with the three Magi, the geniuses who are the backbone of U. Then the other is for Chloe to give her the position of National Affairs Director. With Rei's help, Reito's group found a place to lay low. They meet up with Mahiru and some locals, and Reito thanks Rei, but the latter tells him she's helping him for someone else's sake. Later that night, Doi decides to feast on his girls, and they struggle to keep up with his new transformation. He gives them the best time of their lives till they eventually tire out. After the hit session, he meets with Karen, who tells him Chloe won't easily fold and informs him of Reito's escape. Doi realizes Reito is more ballsy than he thought, and he will be very busy doing Reito's manly duties. Later, Rei takes them to a ship and tells Reito that she and Mira won't be boarding it with them. Reito thanks her for her help so far and then speaks to Mira privately, thanking her and vowing to come back for her. He hugs her and asks her to stay safe. Then he gets on board the ship. There, Hikaru tells him she'll be taking them to Taiwan because it'll be too dangerous to remain in the country. She quickly shushes him by telling him Arisa wants to see him, and she will be heading there. The ship takes off, and Reito can't get his mind off Mira's melons. Mahiru sees him gooning and hands him a tablet before storming off. He gets a call from Hino, who commends him for running away. He tells him how Chloe has stopped handing him girls and he's locked up indoors. After the call, Hino tells Nene to ensure his girls are protected. That night, while Rena walks by, Doi sees her and calls her pretty, and Karen gets wild thoughts. Chloe, however, punishes Pope for letting Rado's faction escape under her watch. Pope then asks her for a second chance, and Chloe agrees, telling her what'll happen if she fails. She then arrests Mira and Ray tries bearing the brunt of the responsibility, but Chloe plans to test how strong her friendship is. After they are taken away, Chloe announces her plan to eradicate all the men. Days later, Karen takes Doi to choose from a list of girls, and he sees Rena, and Karen convinces him to do as he wants. When Rado's team gets to Taiwan, they see how beautiful the place is. Suddenly, Rado spots Arisa and confirms he isn't dreaming. He then rushes to her and hugs her, saying he's glad she's okay. He then tells her he plans to create a cure for the virus, telling her that they'll do it themselves if nobody else will. She instantly remembers how cool he sounded when he told her the same line when they were little, and she agrees. That's the end of today's video. If you stayed until now, comment down below if you think you'd smash or pass Mira. Leave a like and subscribe to the channel if you want me to post Mira's Unplotted. But don't forget to check out the next video with lots of hand lotion. Stay focused, it might just be your new favorite anime recap.